Hey guys, welcome back to my YouTube channel. In this video, I'm going to be testing the low light capabilities of the newly released Canon 1DX Mark III versus the older Panasonic Lumix GH5S. A while ago on my YouTube channel, I compared the Lumix GH5S to the Canon 1DX Mark II, and the GH5S was better in low light, regardless of it being a micro four thirds sensor stacked up against a full frame sensor that the Canon 1DX Mark II has. So the lens I used to shoot on the 1DX Mark III was the Canon 16 to 35mm f2.8, and the lens I used on the GH5S is the relatively new 10 to 25mm f1.7. Now, after doing some research, there is a 2x difference between the iris or aperture or f-stop between micro four thirds and full frame. So for example, if you're shooting at an f2 aperture on micro four thirds, that's the equivalent of shooting at an f4 on full frame. So as you can see, already a huge advantage with full frame as opposed to micro four thirds when it comes to aperture performance. So as you can see, both cameras were fairly clean up until about ISO 12,800. But then once you got to 25,600, both had quite a bit of noise. And I would say, honestly, the GH5S and the 1DX Mark III in terms of ISO performance were about the same. And that is pretty impressive for the GH5S, considering it has a micro four thirds sensor and has the 2x aperture difference disadvantage. Now, that being said, if you're looking at these two images, if you go back earlier to ISO 100, you can see that the GH5S has significantly changed color. At ISO 100, it's more of a natural looking picture, and then once we climb higher and higher in ISO, you start to get this kind of a ugly green tint. But these are nitpicky critiques, as I mean, come on, this is a micro four thirds sensor and pretty impressive. I didn't expect anything less from the 1DX Mark III just because it is Canon's like cream of the crop sensor. It's the same sensor as the new C500 Mark II. And it's super expensive. So if it were not this good in low light, I would be fairly disappointed. So thank you so much for watching. If you want to see any other comparisons between these two cameras, I know they're not really common cameras to be compared against. But if you'd like to see maybe the differences between the log profiles on the GH5S and the 1DX Mark III, or any other questions you have, let me know.